We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Good evening, Jared.
Oh, well, hello there, my friend.
We're an entire day early here tonight, doing an impromptu live show. And for something that you can't really. Tyler Andro from the Facebook page. I'm right there with you. He says, "I have no words." The news is incredibly shocking that Sherrone Moore has been fired as the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. The news came not long ago. I was walking around the house doing something. Jared, you gave me a call, and you said, "What exactly did you say to me?" I can't remember your words. You said something like, "I guess it's all different now," or like, what did you say? You remember?
I didn't say anything cheesy like out of some 80s song.
You said the end is nigh.
All over now. What is this? Batman Minotaur? What are we doing? No, man. I said, did you see the news? That's what I said.
No, it was more dramatic than that. And hey, look, I'm not trying to make light of this because there's serious accusations, and the reality is there's real people who are involved. I've received a handful of messages from people who are close to the program, connected to the program, have kids who play in the program, and everybody's sort of just kind of going through the same thing right now, trying to digest the news of what is a shocker. And once again, the news is that Sherrone Moore is out as the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. I'll read the statement that was put out by Athletic Director Ward Manuel. This statement came out at 4:43 today. The statement reads, University of Michigan head coach Sherrone Moore has been terminated with cause effective immediately. Following a university investigation, credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This conduct constitutes a clear violation of university policy, and University of Michigan maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. Biff Poggi has been appointed head coach in an interim capacity effective immediately. So, Jared, that's where we're at. Sherrone Moore is out. Biff Poggi is in, at least as an interim head coach. I don't know, man. When you saw the news, when it first came through, what's going through your mind? Where are you at on this?
I mean, my first thought was, all those bastards on social media that we were like, you guys are crazy. They had it right the whole time. It was a little slower cooking than they had people expecting. Some of them were calling like in the next 2 days, weeks ago. So, it was hard to believe him because nothing was happening. Then that's how these things happen. I guess it's a testament to Michigan really keeping a lock on their HR department in terms of handling things like this. So if you got to look for one shining thing, I guess they're running their HR. You get fired by Michigan, it's going to be efficient.
Yeah. There's no question about it. And I think to your point, this is so. Just so that we're clear, this is something that's kind of been floating out there for a little while now. It's a rumor that was floating around on social media. I have heard about this now for a number of weeks. This issue with Sherrone Moore. Jared, I think you and I discussed it. I mean, I was just talking to my wife about it downstairs, that I remember bringing this up to her a couple of weeks back, some things that we had heard. And, that with the way social media is and the way the internet is in general, you're never quite sure if what you're hearing is accurate, but there was some smoke that was building around this thing. And Jared, it turns out that it was accurate. And I think where I'm at on this, like outside of just being in a state of shock, is that it just feels so unfortunate. It's one of those stories where, Sherrone Moore comes in as a first-time head coach, lands a job at the University of Michigan. He has every single resource you could want as a college football coach. Big name brand program, University of Michigan, blue blood. You've got Larry Ellison money coming in. You've got donor money coming in left, right. You've got an NIL war chest that the vast majority of programs in the country would kill to have. top tier facilities. You have everything at your disposal in order to be successful at the University of Michigan. And to see it go down like this, I think is just tragic. It's one of those situations where it's just hard to believe that you could sacrifice something so good. But again, like, humans are human and people make mistakes and things happen. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it's just, I'm trying to balance how I feel as a fan, where I'm pissed off and I'm wondering what's going to happen with the roster. I'm wondering, like, this just feels like so much damn wasted time for a university that invested into you. Jim Harbaugh, like, advocating for you to be the next man up. Like, all these people who were rooting and pushing and supporting you. And then something like this happens, and trying to balance it with, like, I feel pissed off about that with the other side. Like, bad for the family. I feel bad for Sherrone Moore. I feel bad for his wife. I feel bad for a lot of people that are involved in this situation. And it's a weird thing to balance. I mean, we were at the Northwestern game in Chicago, my family, with him, like, taking pictures, and he was kind and he was nice and chatting. And I don't know, man. It's just and
you got to think about that staffer too, that female staffer. They're saying some crazy stuff, like,
which, let's
ain't gonna go there, but there's either way, she got put in a position where she wasn't, obviously wasn't comfortable, and some things happened that shouldn't have happened, but it's
well, and
you say that Biff Poggi, if we're gonna shift back to football, because you and I aren't HR experts, we can talk about moving forward, I guess.
Sure.
Before we get fired from our own show, I think Biff Poggi, in terms of being a player's coach and a guy that can bring that team together, is a strong piece that could probably hold that locker room together a little bit, just to say, hey guys, like, give it a chance. Let's see who comes in before we all start jumping ship, right? Like, you guys, I mean, that team could have a voice at some point. I mean, they're getting paid too. You know what I mean? Like, LeBron had a voice, and I know this isn't the NBA, but you got 5-star kids standing in that room looking at you. They got a voice, and because they got a dollar sign attached to them, and they got, you know what I mean? They got a. This might be the first time where at University of Michigan that the players might have a say. Well,
and they should have a say. And I think that, part of this is anytime you fire a head coach, that window opens for any sort of player to just go and explore and say, is this a place I want to be? And certainly
30 days too, isn't it, or something?
Yeah. And it's, man, there's just so many layers to this. This is why I wanted to hop on and do this live, because I am still trying to digest it and still trying to, like, work my way through it mentally. And I've seen, there's no shortage of people that are, let's do this. Okay. Because I think the one side of it is what he got fired for and what he's being accused of. And then some of the other things. I mean, if you listen to the ESPN report and Adam Schefter, he seemed to suggest that there's more that's going to be coming out, more details about this that are going to come out in the coming weeks. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Again, there's things that are floating around on social media. I'm not really going to discuss those things here just because it's highly inappropriate, given the nature of what we're talking about here. But, when you talk about, I think, Jared, you make a good point. The fact that you've got Biff Poggi in that locker room, in that building, a guy that is a player's coach, a guy that players absolutely love. It's fortunate that you have him there as somebody who can potentially keep this thing together. But I guess the first question I would ask is, he's serving in an interim capacity. And during the season, we saw it against Nebraska. We saw it against Central Michigan. People thought, like, holy shit, like, this is when Biff Poggi was running things. Like, Michigan looked a hell of a lot better. Even during the season, there were people advocating for him. So when people are throwing out names here, I mean, thoughts on Biff Poggi potentially being the guy?
I don't think so, man. I don't think he wants it. You know what I mean? I think he's past that part of his football journey, football career. I think he's more into the mentorship. So, which is good. So we can go out and get a young quarterback or a young coach maybe, and Biff stays, keeps that locker room intact, because you got to have somebody that keeps that locker room intact, man. You know what I mean? That there really has to be somebody. And Sherrone was that when Harbaugh left, right? A lot of players said that. He held them together and didn't let them miss a beat. But yeah, I mean, I see people talking about Jesse Minter. That he's got a show cause until April of 26. His show cause is over.
Yeah, I've heard Jesse being thrown out.
He could. I believe he can still get hired. He just can't operate until April 26.
It's a shame Connor Stallions got caught, because this might have been part of the manifesto. Maybe this was like the next iteration. Here's the job open. I'm going to go through, and I'm
Connor Stallions' fault again.
That guy strikes again. I am just going to throw up some comments here, because You know,
Fire
a
Ward
lot of
manual.
people. Oh my God. Okay, let's just start with haha Jacob from the Facebook page. He says, "See ya." And by the way, this is a pretty common response that I'm seeing from fans here. Like, let's keep in mind there were a lot of people who were not in Sherrone Moore's camp. They didn't think he was going to be the guy. They wanted to pull the trigger midway through last season. They wanted to pull the trigger midway through this year. And, you know, while most of us were saying you got to give him year 3, you got to give him year 3, there was a whole host of people in this fan base that wanted to see him gone. So while some of us are feeling like, what the hell? How does this even happen? There's definitely some in the fan base that are rejoicing. And haha, Jacob here from the Facebook page is one.
What if we just have Dusty May take over, dude?
Well, you can, yeah. Well,
you know, I mean,
he's saying, see ya, bring in Dabo. No, Brian Kelly, I'm guessing, is who he's suggesting here, or John Harbaugh. I'm gonna give a hard no.
You don't want to, and you ain't getting a third. I mean, what?
Exactly. Yeah, you definitely. I mean, Brian Kelly. We were talking about that before we went live. The idea of Brian Kelly roaming the sidelines in Ann Arbor, screaming his head off, yelling at players with his face all purple. I can't take that. And that's the thing about this. We can throw out names. You can say Jesse Minter. You can say John Gruden. You can say Urban Meyer, which, by the way, if I'm the people in Ann Arbor, I am loading up the bags of cash to try to get Urban Meyer from wherever the hell he's at now to relocate to the University of Michigan. Jared, we talked about this before we went live. He reportedly was in the mix with the Penn State thing. He wanted some things from an NIL standpoint that I think Penn State was just not prepared to give him. And what did I say? Whatever he wasn't going to get NIL-wise at Penn State, he will get that at the University of Michigan. It's just a matter of, I don't know, does Urban Meyer have any interest in potentially becoming a Wolverine? But either way, when you're talking about this, Jared, you have got to get this right. And I think you make a great point that, like, more so now than ever, the players, the guys in that locker room should have a say in how this thing goes and who you end up bringing in, because this is absolutely a hire now. University of Michigan, that head coaching vacancy is now open. This is a job where if it's vacant, I don't know, when Penn State was vacant, when some of these other high profile jobs, you're talking Michigan's at the top of the list. I don't know if there's going to be another job more coveted than this.
Them and LSU, right? Like right there. I think.
But Michigan, I would even give Michigan the edge over LSU.
I don't know.
I get it. It's an SEC program. I understand it. There's history and there's tradition there, but I just don't know that. I mean, Michigan was able to steal LSU or Bryce Underwood away from LSU. Michigan has
resources. Up 10 seconds away, man.
That's true. That's true.
Look out the door to see him.
You could put them 1A or 1B. My point is that if you're Michigan, you tried the thing with Sherrone Moore. He was a first time head coach.
Yeah, you got to get somebody to
track record. You got to get a dude. I think that there's certain programs around the country where you got to be the Jim Harbaugh, the Nick Saban, the Urban Meyer, like those types of guys. I think the University of Michigan needs a guy like that running things. I'm not saying any of those guys are going to be in the mix. Certainly not Jim Harbaugh. I'm not saying any of those guys are going to be in the mix, but I think if you're Michigan, you've got to get somebody of that caliber, long proven track record.
How old is Urban Meyer now?
I don't know. Young enough to come coach at Michigan. That's for sure.
What do you think? Mid 60s?
Probably late 60s. I don't know. He's been around for a minute.
He's only 61.
He's only 61. He's got plenty of time.
Like another decade.
Another 2 years. Would you sign him to like a 10-year deal just right off the rip?
Don't you think he would say, I want a 10-year deal?
Sure. And you know what? I would say
I think he's negotiating that.
I would say yes, I will give it to you, and you will be the highest paid coach in all of college football. 100%. I wouldn't think twice. Would not think
twice. Gave that to LSU, right? Lane Kiffin.
Zay Martinez from the Facebook page says this is absolutely the worst timing. Yeah, I think that's part of it too. Like Michigan had to go through, run the course on the investigation. And yeah, man, you just signed this class. I don't know. Would it have been worse timing right before signing day with the players? I don't know. Like it's bad timing.
Portal's open either way, whether they signed or not. Yeah.
Yeah, but for sure, I don't know that there's any good timing for this to happen, to be quite honest. If I'm looking at the calendar year and it's like, when do you want your head coach to be fired for an inappropriate relationship or whatever it is? It's like, there's no time of the year where it feels like good timing.
To squeeze that in the schedule. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, it's going to happen now. Chase from the Facebook page, again, asking who do we even hire? That's the instant thought. Chase, I think that's exactly where everybody's at right now. And again, the names being thrown out, at least the names that I've seen, whether they're realistic or not, you got people throwing out Brian Kelly. You've got people saying Jesse Minter. You got people saying Urban Meyer. The bottom line is, I think that even though a lot of the coaches have been scooped up in what is just an insane head coaching carousel in this offseason it's been crazy, like one of the craziest that I can ever remember. But there are still some guys who are out there that I think Michigan being open is going to give them something to think about or something to look about, even if they are enjoying retirement right now. Like the opportunity to be the head coach at the University of Michigan does not come along often. And that's why this thing with Sherrone Moore is just so damn frustrating. Think about that. You're in that seat with that program, with those resources. You've got it. You've got like one of the most coveted jobs in all of college football. And this is how it goes out. Like, okay, if your winning percentage sucks, if you can't beat Ohio State, if you can't beat, go to the college football playoff, like if you can't get the team where it needs to be, fine. That's, it is what it is. But to go out this way is just so damn disappointing, man, especially for people like me who were in Sherrone Moore's corner and advocating for him to succeed.
Yeah, all the people that say Ryan Day was born on third, I mean, he probably was, right? But I think Sherrone was at second. You know what I'm saying? Like he had everything. He just didn't have the roster immediately that Ryan Day got when he took over. But I mean, he was, you know what I mean? He wasn't that, like you said, he had all the resources. They had just figured out their NIL, flipped Bryce on. Like, I mean, he made some moves instantly and then just gone. Like, man,
gone. And killing it on the recruiting trail. And I know a lot of people wanted to point to, anybody could kill it on the recruiting trail with that type of NIL resources. But again, you can't got it. Right. You can't take, Sherrone Moore was pulling recruits away from other programs that had, if not as much, almost just as much, could offer guys just as much and was winning recruiting battles. So you can't really take all of that off of him and just chalk it up to NIL. Another name that we're seeing float around here, we've got it back to back. Justin Tigner from the Facebook page says, I just want to start by saying go blue. John Gruden, come on down. Dave needs to make the call. Dave Portnoy, obviously the owner of Barstool Sports. He's got John Gruden working for Barstool Sports. I would have a hard time believing a text message probably hasn't already been sent, particularly because John Gruden recently said, when asked about whether or not he would ever want to be a head coach again, he said, I always stay ready to be a head coach. And so who knows, man? Talk about a guy that's getting up there in age. I think he's probably over Urban Meyer. But right after him,
Dion? What about Dion?
Absolutely not. No. No. We're not
going to be Dion.
Would be a disaster. Let me just go through some more of these comments here. Mike from the Facebook page says the best job available, including over the previous job openings. Let's nail this next hire. Yeah, Mike, 100%. That's exactly where we are. If you are the University of Michigan, like you don't want to wait long, right? Because you want to keep this roster together. Now you're at risk because this window is open. You're at risk of losing every damn body if they don't like the direction that this is headed. Jared, I think you make a great point that having Biff Poggi in the building, I think is going to be
calming.
Key, right? Calming and key to keep this whole thing together. But there's no question that Michigan has to absolutely get this right. And Jared, I don't, to me, it's got to be a home run hire. I don't think there's any doubt about it. It's got to be a home run hire. Zero. Like you don't want to see what happened with the report about the quarterbacks coach, right? Mike Shula. People were like, oh my God, he got fired from South Carolina. I'm just not sure. That can't be your head coaching choice here. It can't be a guy that people are on the fence of, not quite sure about. It's got to be a sure thing home run hire. If you're Michigan, you got to strike right now.
Yeah. And I think though, more importantly than you and I thinking it's a home run, I think the players got to think it's a home run. And that they I'm telling you, the players got a lot of power in this right now because it didn't used to be like this. But now, man, I'm telling you, if you don't include them, you're setting that guy for failure. We see this fan base gives you about 3 years unless this dude's gonna transfer in a whole team Signetti style. You know what I mean? Like he's got to have some ingredients in the cupboard. And
right. And the idea that you're going to be able to replicate what Indiana did with Curt Signetti, like I know we all look at that as like an example of like, see what you can do in just one off season or two off seasons. Like there aren't a lot of teams that are doing that. And there's a reason why Indiana's story is so special because it's one of those Cinderella things where everything just sort of worked out. But I don't know that that's going to be in the cards for the University of Michigan where you take a gamble on a guy and it becomes that. I mean, if you gamble with this hire here, you're
back to the dark ages.
The fork in the road becomes like very divided, right? If you gamble and you get it wrong, and you go from Sherrone Moore to the next guy who can't make it work, all of a sudden things start to look bleak real quick and the roster starts to fall apart and you get real far away from where you were in 2023.
We can't act like it would never happen at Michigan.
It absolutely can happen.
It happened like back to back. Like
right.
We went, like we watched it. We lived through it. It was horrifying. I mean,
awful.
We can't.
Awful.
Watch this one. I mean, I just saw it on LinkedIn. So for everybody that I did put my resume in, so we got at least one good option.
One guy, former military guy, just ready to. Yeah, I mean, I'm also open to the job. Yeah.
I don't know nothing about running a team, but we'll look good. We'll be squared away.
Yeah. We'll make sure we get those guys. We'll get them fired up for Ohio State, no question. Brian William from the Facebook page says, "How soon do we have to hire before everything falls apart?" That's a good question, Ryan. I think Jared made a great point that I think having Biff Poggi in the building gives you some time. I think that there's still a huge sense of urgency out there, but there aren't many, if any, premier head coaches that are like out there looking for jobs right now. Most of those guys, if not all of them, have already taken other jobs. And so the guys that you're potentially targeting, are you're either going to have to pull them out of the weeds, right? They weren't hot coaching candidates during the offseason. They've already re-signed and decided to stay with their respective teams, or you're going to have to try to bring a guy out of retirement. And honestly, again, I just think with a program like the University of Michigan, with everything that's there, I think the decision has to be to bring in a known commodity, not a question mark, not a guy who maybe can, maybe can't, not somebody you're taking a gamble on. You go look around the country, if they're retired guys and you say, hey, these guys have a long track record of success, when you bring them in, current players are going to be excited, recruits are going to be excited because they know about the success. I think that's what you got to do if you're Michigan. And if you don't do that, I think it could get scary. But how soon does that have to happen? I don't know, Jared. How quickly do you think they got to pull all this together and find somebody here?
I mean, it's got to be quick.
Look what happened to Penn State, right?
Yeah. I mean, the portal's open right now, technically. Like, it's open. Like, so these guys could reach out and people are going to reach out to them. And, the rules are all shady and backdoor and all that nonsense. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm sure dudes have already gotten contacted. But the difficult part, too, in college, instead of just hiring like at the pro level, is not only do you got to sell like the fan base and all that, but you got to sell the players and their parents, right? Because mom and dad have a heavy influence on some of these young kids still. Yeah. So you got to sell down the line to keep your roster intact and not go back, like I said, to the dark ages of Michigan football, getting whooped and winning 3-4 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's got to be quick, and it's got to be. I mean, I'm sure they're on it, and I'm sure they already had kind of feelers out anyways. You know what I mean? They knew which way this thing was going. The Michigan knew the direction of the investigation. Call Urban Meyer again.
I mean,
fired up now, Chris. You got half the people calling for you to get your butt whipped.
If I am in a decision-making position at the University of Michigan, my first call, second call, third call, fourth call, fifth call, all the way up to like my 20th call is Urban Meyer. I'm blowing his phone up right now and saying, what do we got to do to get you away from Fox and get you to Ann Arbor? I like the guy. I think he's real cerebral. I think he understands the game. I think he conveys his message in the right way. He's 61 years old. He is that general type guy, right? He's calmed down a little bit. He is that general. Like when he walks into the room, he's going to have command and have respect of his players. I think that's what you need in a building full of young elite athletes who are just looking for some guidance, who want to play at the highest level. I think you bring in Urban Meyer, and I think, let me ask you, just hypothetically speaking, let's say Michigan did go that direction. Urban Meyer is the head coach going into 2026. How confident do you feel about Michigan's chances with an experienced Bryce Underwood, a returning offensive line that has a ton of experience, Andrew Marsh, Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall?
You keep everybody, you're saying.
You keep everybody, and you bring in Urban Meyer. How good are you feeling about this?
Yeah. Dude, I mean, it's a solid team. We thought it was a solid team even with, when Sherrone was at the helm. And obviously,
the biggest question was what? What was the biggest question with this team?
Yeah, coaching.
Development.
Yeah.
Right, coaching and development.
He does it, right? I mean, he took Tim Tebow, made him a perennial Heisman guy. Turns out the dude couldn't even throw the ball when he got to the NFL, right? They're like, what?
There you go.
As a quarterback.
How did that happen?
Make him a tight end, you know what I mean? Like,
and I've seen a few of these. Lewis from the Facebook page is saying, go get Dan Mullen.
Dude. He's at
UNLV, right? No, see, I don't. It's me. Dan Mullen isn't even good enough. It's not.
No, it's
not. I don't want anything like that. Brian Kelly is not good enough.
your past has to be success, not failure, right? Like that's why, like if I've saw people say the Deion Sanders thing. I'm like, dude, he's not even winning in Colorado. Like, dude, we're not going down that road. You're gonna take a dude who's gonna, like you said, known commodity, background with a history of winning, and that's it.
We got a question here from the Facebook page from Nate Town. He says, do you think Biff Poggi and the rest of the staff get a year as opposed to trying to hire after the coaching carousel has spun? Might make it easier to retain commits released from the LOIs. No, I don't think so.
Unless you're saying the new head coach keeps the staff, which is up to them.
No, I think he's saying you keep Biff Poggi in that position, you keep the staff together, and you give that group a year to figure it out. I
can't do that.
Yeah, I absolutely do not think so.
But yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's got to be decisive, because then you're talking about the next year's recruiting and all that nonsense, right? Like next year's recruiting. Guys are committing already. Like you can't do here.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I don't think you can afford to wait. I think you got to go now if you're Michigan. Chris from the Facebook page, Chris Bearden, he says Michigan must strike fast at getting a coach or they will lose players and recruits. I think that's certainly where Jared and I are at. This feels like a definitely a sense of urgency type thing where, again, you have a little bit of time because I think you've got Poggi in the building. You've got some leadership in there on the staff, guys who've been there for a while that can keep it together. But ultimately, I think the question is going to be, everybody's going to be trying to figure out who they're going to bring in. And I think that, you got to strike fast and you got to make a deal. And I don't know, hopefully this could end up working in Michigan's favor where they do bring in an elite, experienced veteran head coach who's been sitting out there behind a desk and says, you know what? I like retirement, but I can't pass up on the opportunity to go coach that football team up in Ann Arbor. That's really what you're hoping for at this point.
All right, so you gotta give me a dream hire and who you would bet on right now if you had to bet.
A dream hire,
whatever you want. So if you say Urban,
the dream hire to me unquestionably is Urban Meyer. Like if I could just press the button and make that happen, that's who I'm going after. Who do I think they can get? Was that what the other one
will get? Who would you bet on right now? Not with your Urban Meyer love, but
listen, I don't know what the name is, but there's something in my gut that just tells me you're going to see the name pop up and your first instinct is going to be like, really? Okay. All right. I can see it. It's going to be sort of like my fear is that it's not going to be that thing where you see that first report come up about who the guy's going to be. And you're like, yes, it's going to be, okay, maybe this can work sort of thing. And I hate that, but I think that's where we're going. Who is that guy? I have no idea. Dan Mullen, that guy for me, like a Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
If I saw
Matt Campbell, if this had happened and Matt Campbell was still available, and we hired Matt Campbell,
I would be so disappointed.
I would have thought the same way. Right? Matt Campbell was a whole hum hire to me, right? Like
whole hum hire. I felt like you had it way better with James Franklin. To go from James Franklin to Matt Campbell, like to me, that's a downgrade. But at that
James
point,
Franklin was losing games he should have won in the Big Ten, and Matt Campbell is losing him over here against Iowa and shit. Like
right now, you could make an argument about resources or whatever it is, but like Penn State was like a step away from panhandling for a head coach before Campbell became the choice there. And I do think it's I think James Franklin at Virginia Tech is going to have more success than Campbell at Penn State. That's what I think. That's how I see that playing out. But yeah, man, that's my fear is we're going to see the head coaching candidate emerge and we're going to be a little bit underwhelmed. And I don't think you can do that this time around because people have spent the last 2 years being underwhelmed with the way this program
is. Mentor a big enough of a hire then?
Well, the thing that
he's never been a head coach anywhere.
Well, I mean,
right?
Yeah,
has he?
But the thing you have with Minter is that he was here when Michigan won a national championship. He was here when Michigan was the most dominant defensively that it ever had been. And so I think that familiarity, if you're a Michigan fan and you hear Jesse Minter, you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like that's a guy we could see. And he's got close ties to Jim Harbaugh. He's been a part of that program. Maybe Jesse Minter can bring back Ben Herbert with him. Maybe they're going to send out the bat signal and say, look, man, we got to bring some guys. Now, okay, if we do that, I'm happy. Jesse Minter and Ben Herbert, that package comes back to Ann Arbor. Let's go. Yep. That's a massive hire. Chris follows it up with, and look, this is we're never going to see this. This is never going to happen. Tom Brady and Charles Woodson as co-coaches. They're great guys, legacies in the NFL, incredible people. They are not head coaches, and that would be an absolute awful decision. And also it's never going to happen. So I would focus elsewhere. It's got to be somebody who's got a proven track record elsewhere. Scott Philbrook from the Facebook page says, please not Brian Kelly. I am 100% with you. If there was an announcement that Brian Kelly was hired as the head coach at University of Michigan, I think I would feel physically ill. Yeah, that's how much I would not want to see that.
No, he's just, it's not the fit man. It's not who you want. It's not who you want as the brand for your team. And no, he's just greasy, bro. This is a greasy dude.
He is greasy, and we've had enough greasy at Michigan. Yeah. I mean, but listen, Urban Meyer is not necessarily squeaky.
Yeah, I was just thinking, man, he's kind of greasy too, my friend.
That's the good grease. No, that's the good grease. That's successful grease. There's a difference. That's high-end grease. You'll take high-end grease. Nick Sparks from the Facebook page says he'd be cool with Cignetti or Dan Lanning have to make those calls. Yeah, you're not going to pull any one of them. You're not going to pull Cignetti away from Indiana. I think he thinks he's building a dynasty out there, and he may damn well be right. And Dan Lanning seems to for as much as a head coach can love where they're at, Dan Lanning seems to have that with the University of Oregon. And it's hard to blame him because he's got full support. He has success out there. And so those two guys, I mean, do you have to make the call? I don't know. Sure, you can probably put out the call, but there's zero chance, I think, of any of those guys coming. I agree. Seeing a lot of Jesse Minter stuff, not Brian Kelly. I'm seeing a lot of comments in here that I can't put up on the screen. So we're gonna see
Kalen DeBoer. What do you think about that?
Kalen DeBoer from Alabama.
It's
Kalen DeBoer. Okay, I'll say this. Kalen DeBoer is another one of those names that I would put it above a Brian Kelly or a Dan Mullen type thing, right? Where I wouldn't be.
That's setting the bar pretty damn low.
Sure, it is.
Is he in your top? Is he in your top 3? Top 5?
I put him in my top 5. I think he's a top 5 guy. But again, we hop on here and we're doing this. I haven't even had time to sit back and think and look at who's available and who we could potentially go after. Kalen DeBoer, if I saw that he was the leading candidate and there was some smoke there, would I be upset and devastated by it? No, but it wouldn't be my first choice either. No. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And then Corey Wright says something here. Bryce changed his Instagram bio. He's already gone. I'm not sure. I don't know what was in his bio, so I'm not exactly sure about that. What about Jay Weatherby here? Weathersby from the Facebook page. He says, all of this stuff is happening under Ward Manuel's watch. It's time for him to go. Jared, I don't know. Where do you stand on the Ward Manuel thing? I will say this. I did receive multiple messages from people who were unhappy with the statement that Ward Manuel put out, that it went into detail about an inappropriate relationship and an investigation. They think that there was too much that was put out in that statement. I guess my response to that is, I don't know if your Ward Manuel, if you could have not put out information, at least as much as you could in that statement, because if you send out a statement on a random Wednesday evening, that Sherrone Moore is fired as a head coach and you give no context whatsoever, how do you expect people to read into that? Now you're just fueling all kinds of speculation. Yeah. I think you had to put that detail in there. But overall, how do you feel about Ward Manuel? Do you have any feelings about Ward Manuel and sort of the things that have happened on his watch? A lot of people blamed him for the reason that things went sideways with Jim Harbaugh as well.
Yeah. No, he not a home run hire to me in that position either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't. But I don't think he went overboard on this. I don't know. I guess he kind of got it. No matter what he did or didn't say, it was going to fuel rumors, right? So if he went a little too far, that just fuels a rumor to the next level. And
right,
it's a bad situation.
That's really what it is, man. It's just a shitty situation.
Yeah, you can't even
figure out what do. There's no good time for it to happen, and there's no good way to explain it to anybody. And you certainly can't put out all the details, but you can't give no details either. And so I think he did what he could. But yeah, I'm not necessarily sitting here as a Ward Manuel super fan thinking that
a lot of people are talking for Joe Brady here. I don't.
Joe Brady? Yeah. Where is Joe Brady? Is he with the Patriots?
No, I think he's with the Buffalo Bills, isn't he?
He's with the Bills?
I don't know where the hell he's at.
I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, that's a name that's out there. I don't know that really doesn't.
Yeah, he's with the Bills. He's their offensive coordinator since 23.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I mean,
Is it an option? I don't know. Would somebody like that even want to come back to college football? Right? He had a lot of success with LSU. I don't know. I don't know. Is he enough of a known commodity? I would say he's a guy that's got a proven track record, right? History of success.
Is this where Brian Greasy's big enough or no? I mean, he's with the 49ers. He was Purdy.
I don't know, man.
Successful team. He hasn't been.
The thing I don't like about that is it just seems like the Michigan thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to go out and bring in a guy who like played at the University of Michigan, coached at the university, unless it's Jesse Minter and Ben Herbert. Like, yes, bring those guys back. But you know what I mean? Like this whole Charles Woodson, Tom Brady, Greasy type thing. Like
Greasy's not horrible. At least he's in the coaching realm. But all he's ever been is a quarterback coach. You know what I mean? He's not like
I get it. I get it.
Coordinator. I don't know.
Anthony from the Facebook page says you better get a credible coach fast and keep your recruits and get ready for the portal. Might I suggest some coach who wants to pass the ball? Yeah, I think we would all be open to that. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people who aren't like, they're upset at why it happened and how this all went down, but they're not exactly upset that Michigan now finds itself in the hunt for its next head coach.
We spent multiple weeks on this podcast saying, all right, we're not going to say Sherrone Moore should get fired. Now let's start the topic. And then people would still be like, fire Sherrone. You know what I mean? Like this fan base was never fully invested in the guy anyways. It's not like you said it in the beginning, it's just, there wasn't that. He's not that dude.
Yeah. Just a real bummer here. I'm seeing more Jesse Minter, bringing John Gruden. Losing Bryce is no big deal. I mean, how do you feel about that? I'm seeing people that are saying, look, even Bryce can back up and hit the road if he doesn't want to be here. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think you got to do everything you can do to keep on,
this roster.
That's the thing. That's the thing about how this season went. And Jared, you more so than anybody I've talked to have been pretty on the same wavelength the whole time about really trying to hit home that you're talking about a kid who was 18, who was playing high school football last year, how different it is to do that. You make the jump from high school to playing you're the starting quarterback at the University of Michigan. You go from playing the Howell defense to playing Ohio State's defense. You're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way. But when you sit back and look at the numbers he was able to put up in an offense that, quite frankly, I don't think played to his strengths, right? I don't think they did a good job of utilizing him. I think he did as good of a job as he could do year one. But there were a lot of people and have been a lot of people, especially after that Paramount thing came out and Bryce was, during the interview, he was talking about the Oklahoma game and said something to the effect of like the Oklahoma defense, that they didn't do shit to me. I just had a bad game. Like Bryce Underwood even started to become vilified in this whole equation. And I just think like that's a mistake here. We got to really pump the brakes here because he is a guy who has the potential to be a generational quarterback at the University of Michigan.
But do you hate your quarterback saying that though? Like their defense wasn't really shit. I just had a bad game. Just brush it off. Like it was kind of dope. He knew they were going to see it. He knew everybody was going to see it.
I don't hate it, but I can see why some people do. They prefer the.
Kobe Bryant wasn't gentle on the microphone, right? Kobe Bryant wasn't gentle on the court.
I get it. I mean, he grew into that a little bit. He became a little more diplomatic, right, in front of the mic.
In his 40s.
I was going to say again, like you put a microphone in front of me as an 18-year-old kid. I'm saying some really dumb shit, so I can see why it rubbed people the wrong way. But at the end of the day, like I like a quarterback that's got some swag, got some confidence, doesn't get rattled, thinks that it's not what you did to me, it's that I didn't do good enough. And by all accounts, when you listen to the way the coaches talk about Bryce Underwood, he is a student of the game, first one in, last one out, always watching film. And so I can't imagine how difficult it is as an 18-year-old when you're getting millions thrown your way, you're getting people asking for interviews, you're doing a Paramount thing, you're doing this, you're doing that. How hard is it to like keep your feet grounded and be humble when you're 18 and you've got the entire world at your fingertips? I think that for as much as he can do it under those circumstances, I think he's doing a pretty damn good job. And certainly he's somebody that you want to keep on the roster. I don't think there's any question about that.
I'd rather not lose Bryce Underwood.
I would prefer not to lose Bryce.
Pretty simple there. Let's get a new good head coach. Keep Bryce Underwood. And you got Savion Hyder, signed early. He's there, like there's some dudes in that building right now that you got to keep.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Carter Meadows out there, right? He signed, but didn't enroll early, dude. That dude, he's number 6 in the country. That kid's going to be an absolute stud. I think having them in that building is going to be easier to keep those recruits. I think the ones that you see the switch off to other schools would be the ones that signed and didn't enroll early. I think those are going to be the highest risk because they're just getting their texts blown up, and
Well, I mean, everybody. How many texts or calls do you think Bryce Underwood's fielded in the last hour?
Yeah, I'm sure they changed his phone number.
I'm sure there
it's
are.
A funny. Here's you might laugh when I say that.
In his camp.
I tell you, you might laugh, but when I was trying to do something with the National Guard with JJ and Blake, I got JJ and Blake's phone numbers, and they told me, they're like, "This is his new number. This is like, we changed it. This is like the 6th time." And I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, kids, like, I don't even know my own number, man. Like, they change it all the time because the wrong people get it, hand it out, and like you said, that happens,
Right.
So I'm sure Bryce has multiple phone options.
Multiple phone options, and I'm sure that there's multiple people around the country that know how to get through to him.
Yeah, that's true too.
Let's see. I'm saying a lot of hell no to Brian Kelly, which I'm glad to see. More John Gruden, some John Brady, some Joe Brady here. I don't see any questions. I've seen some Jed Fish, something like that's another one to me. Like Jed Fish out at Washington, former, what was he, the OC and quarterbacks coach here at Michigan. He was with Brady Hoke, right? He was with Harbaugh. It was Harbaugh and Jed Fish, right? Or was that Hoke?
Yeah, that was very early on. Yeah.
That was early on. And so that's another one of those where
he's been gone too long and he hasn't made a bigger name for himself. So why would we bring him back to Michigan?
Right. If I heard that, I would just.
Yeah. Where's he coach right now?
Washington.
Yeah. They haven't done shit. Yeah. That's like his career path kind of reminds me like PJ Fleck, like he was just kind of blew up a little bit and then kind of just plateaued and like.
Oh my God. You just added in it. Well, didn't PJ Fleck just sign? Didn't he sign a big contract in Minnesota?
Nothing that Michigan couldn't overcome. I mean, really, you know what I mean? Not nothing that we couldn't overcome. I don't personally want him. Do you? Just because
he's got energy. He's got energy.
The bald hair, the no hair, and
he is a good-looking bald guy. He's one of the bald
freaking twins.
Pretty much. I mean, same build, same good looks. Yeah, and you know what? PJ Fleck might not be a bad idea. The more I think about it,
you could be his assistant, just stand right next to him, looking just like him.
We need more bald men in positions of power. For too long, our kind has been held down.
Oh boy.
Oh. I don't know, man. I'm seeing a lot of Joe Brady and John Gruden. Man, the Joe Brady train is
he's young, dude. He's young. He's motivated. He's
Yeah. Let's see. This is a longer comment, so I'm just going to throw it up. Matthew Bursley from the Facebook page says, I love Biff Poggi. If that's who they go with, I'll stand by him 100%. But my honest opinion, I don't think Michigan should promote within. They need to go out and get someone with a strong resume. This program needs fresh blood. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Could Biff Poggi serve in that role for another year? Could he be that guy? Sure. But I also don't want to see Michigan promote from within. I think it's imperative that you bring somebody from the outside in. They put together the staff that they want, and you just get a breath of fresh air in this program. I think that that's going to be sorely needed, especially when things kind of go this way and end on this type of note. I think it's, as much as I hate to say it, man, I think it's a cleaning house might not be a bad idea. We'll just leave it.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part when you're the head coach and you do something like this, right? Because now it's not just you, it's everybody else who's a part of your staff that said, yeah, I want to come help Sherrone Moore at the University of Michigan, and I want to be a part of this program. Now, guess what? All of their jobs are at risk. Their future is uncertain. Yeah. Nobody really knows how this thing is going to pan out. So when you make boneheaded decisions, it doesn't just impact you. It doesn't just impact the players. It also impacts the people who have made it their career to sort of be a part of what you're doing because they believe in you. And man, it has all these tentacles, and it's really unfortunate to see.
That's a good way to say it. You nailed it right there. It's Ed Orgeron.
Sometimes
we're getting some weird ones in here now, boys.
Would I be upset about that? I don't know.
I don't know. You wouldn't be able to understand him.
I mean, given the way that all of this just went, I don't think we want to bring Edo. I mean, he'd be on campus for a week and he'd have his shirt off, photographed at some sort of frat party, smoking cigarettes and pounding beers. Probably not the best idea. You have to make Cignetti say no. Like no, he's gonna say no. I don't think
Lincoln Riley's a tough pull too with that class he just brought in, and USC's kind of a blue bud too. You know, I don't think he's going anywhere
out there in California, just enjoying beautiful weather. Probably not going to.
He's coming out here. Matt Patricia ain't leaving Ohio State, and we don't want.
I don't want Matt Patricia here
anywhere again. That ain't gonna happen.
That's another one of those where, like, you just Chip Kelly's floating around out there. He's jobless, looking for something.
He hasn't been successful in so long. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like he came on, shocked the world a little bit with that Oregon and stuff, and with his offense. But now, when's the last time he won? Pete Carroll's like 73, dude. Come on, bro.
Yeah, some of these guys are
a scooter on the sideline. He's actually in pretty good shape. I see him running out to the NFL games and stuff. But
it's the first one I've seen for Marcus Freeman. Yeah, I don't know. Notre Dame is still one of those jobs. I don't think you leave a Notre Dame for the University of Michigan if you're Marcus Freeman.
Not with the agreement they have with the college football playoff now, right? If they're in the
top, true. Right, that's a pretty sweet deal, man. If we're ranking,
he's only got to be in the top,
guaranteed. We don't got to join a conference, and we're guaranteed a playoff spot.
Pick your roster so you can get, here's my 10 wins, and I'll play 2 decent teams if I want to. I think they could get away with playing 11 shitty teams and USC because of that rivalry and probably still get in.
Well, Vincent from the Facebook page, I don't know how long ago this was. Okay, this was 5:39. He says, why would a Michigan fan want Urban Meyer? Seriously, are you guys for real? I just don't think it's
very real.
I'm
still torn. I'm just saying, I'm still torn. I despise that guy with every part of my being. I don't think that. I feel like if he wins a natty in Michigan, I'll feel that's tainted because he touched it. This guy got to touch it. Like he has to wear gloves the whole time.
Well, okay, you can think he's greasy. Sure, you can think he's greasy. You can not be a fan, but I'll tell you what: if he comes in and Michigan starts running through the Big Ten and playing for national championships year in and year out, you're gonna. My gut tells me you're gonna find a way to like Urban Meyer if that.
I said he just can't touch the hardware. Like
that's fine. Okay, he can't touch the hardware. But Vincent, to answer your question, I mean, I get it. Everybody, we're fans of one team. He coached the rival team. We're supposed to hate him, but also like when you step out of it, I want to see this program win at a high level, consistently and win national championships. And when you look at Urban Meyer's record as a collegiate head coach, particularly what he did at Ohio State, if you could just take that level of success and bring it to Ann Arbor, I don't know anybody that would not want that. And so that's why maybe I'm so jaded and I've been doing the media thing for so long that I can put that stuff aside because I've said it before. I don't feel as emotionally invested into all of it as I was before I started covering the program, like in an official capacity. Maybe that's a part of it, but why would I want Urban Meyer? Because the guy wins. I mean, that's it. He knows how to win national championships. He's on the level of a Nick Saban type guy. I think if you have the opportunity to get him, you do that. And Penn State reportedly made a run at Urban Meyer and just wasn't able to give him what he wanted from an NIL resource standpoint. And I think Michigan.
I wonder how far off they were on that NIL, because it seems to me like Penn State was a school that had a decent NIL program. So, like, what was he asking for? I mean, I think Penn State's their roster was probably in the 20 plus million this year. Like, that seems kind of like what Ohio State's doing, Michigan's doing. So, was he like, hey, I need 50 million? You know what I mean? Did he come up with something just ludicrous? For them to just say no?
I might be wrong on this, but
I think that's what it was.
Wasn't James Franklin trying to get like a runway, like an airport right next to the stadium so that recruits coming in wouldn't have to travel so far, something like that?
Because it's a long drive to get to.
Right. Yeah. And you heard about that when Penn State's AD was like secretly recorded. And I don't know who it was in the meeting that brought it up, but they talked about how hard it is to get people out to Penn State because it's in a remote location. There's not really anything that's close. I've been out to Penn State. If you've ever been to a Penn State game, it's like where people are tailgating, there's barns and there's like cattle over there and there's large open spaces, and it's not an easy place to get to. And so I think that, even though Penn State is a great college and it's a great program, you do have things working against you that quite honestly you don't have working against you at the University of Michigan. CJ Frazier from the Facebook page says ChatGPT says it's PJ Fleck. I'd like to see the prompt that you put in. I'd like to know exactly what you asked. I'm curious how ChatGPT, how AI would just sort of spit back that Fleck was the answer.
Because they're reading the emails, man.
They're reading the emails.
They know everything.
They do know everything.
Yes.
I'm getting a lot of pushback on the Urban Meyer thing. Frank Shaft.
You're down to like 20,000 followers on your Facebook.
I'm losing now. Yeah, hard no on Urban Meyer. Don't want our players being kicked and him hanging out in the bar with floozies.
That's where I hang out, man. You can't be hanging out in there with me.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily worried about him being physical with the players.
Not anymore. I think he's calmed down, like you said, to a point. I think he's calmed down.
Yeah,
I've heard Joey McGuire, Texas Tech head coach. I've heard that. Sam Webb says DeBoer is 1, 2, and 3, huh?
DeBoer is 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Joey McGuire is not leaving Texas Tech, not as long as Cody Campbell is in the mix. For anybody not paying attention, Texas Tech has all of the money you could ever want. The roster that they assembled was courtesy of guys like Cody Campbell, oil tycoons out there in Texas who just want to spend money and win football games. So if you're Joey McGuire, I mean, that's another one of those things where it's like probably hard to get guys out into Lubbock because there's not just Lubbock's kind of off in its own place. But hey, man, if you can get $4 or $5 million to go play football for the Red Raiders and compete for a national championship, I think you're going to take it. And what you're seeing with Texas Tech this year is proof positive that formula works. Joey McGuire.
Do you think DeBoer could leave Alabama to come to Michigan?
Well, the thing about that is the Alabama fan base is kind of restless with DeBoer.
They're kind of like how the Michigan was with Sherrone. Yeah,
right. They were on the fence with him. They're coming off of Nick Saban. They're coming off of the juggernaut that Alabama was, and they expect to continue. And DeBoer just wasn't able to do it. I don't know. I mean, it's still Bama, still Tuscaloosa, still SEC. You're still 9-3 in the college football playoff. You're not going to be in the college football playoff at 9-3 at the University of Michigan. I don't know, man. Do you make the jump? Is Michigan far more appealing than Alabama?
Do you think there's less stress at Michigan than there is at Alabama?
Hell no.
You don't think so?
Ask Sherrone Moore. I mean, this team went 9-3 this year. 9-3 this year.
And Jim Harbaugh was there for how long?
He was 8 years?
Yeah, he was there before he finally started winning.
He was there for 8, when
Alabama doesn't put up with that shit.
We were like 4 or 5 years into Harbaugh's tenure before people wanted Harbaugh gone, and then contractual things started to happen, and then he started like exploring the NFL, and so
3 years for sure. On that third year, you're out.
And I think that's what Michigan is too. I think with all of these major programs, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, all these major programs, you got 3 years. And if you don't get it done in 3 years, you're probably going to be out. Now, at a Tulane or a Tulsa or if you're coaching in the Sun Belt or something like that, or you're coaching Central Michigan or Western Michigan or a MAC school or whatever it is, like now, you've got. That's why Brian Hartline probably went to UCF, because you're not on a 3-year leash at that point. UCF doesn't have to make the college football.
He went to USF.
Yeah, I'm sorry, USF. You don't have to make the college football playoff every 3 seasons. So you have time as a first-time head coach to really, fail, make some mistakes, get things figured out before you take that big boy job. But not at the University of Michigan, man. You got, especially coming off of the national championship run in 2023, people have experienced it, they felt it, and now that's the expectation. And when it doesn't happen, when you're not in the college football playoff, it's a problem. And I think you've got about 3 years before people say, you're not the guy. Yeah. Look at Navy's head coach. Michigan will go all in on Cignetti. I mean, even though it's improbable, you and I have talked about Cignetti. You know where I stand. I would 100% welcome him with open arms. I love batshit crazy head coaches. Give me Cignetti's kind of cut from that Jim Harbaugh type cloth. How would you feel about that, even though it's completely improbable?
I want continuity, man. I think he's older, right? I just want a guy that can stay for. I'm tired of the coaching changes, man, because that's what kills college football programs, especially in this era with the transfer portal and NIL. Like it's got to be somebody that can stay for a minute. I mean, PJ Fleck would stay for a minute. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think if PJ Fleck got the head coaching job at the University of Michigan, he's one of those guys that would come here and in his press conference say, I am never leaving. I am going to be here forever until they drag me out of the building. And I think he would mean it too. So there's also something to be said for that as well. But I don't know.
It's 27th best recruiting class this year at Minnesota.
Right, which is not an easy place.
I mean, what's his NIL going to be, dude? I mean, it can't be. You know what I mean? He ain't even in the league with Michigan and got the 27th best. I mean, and he's trying to bring guys up to Minnesota where, it's just you're competing against Oregon, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, like all these heavy hitters in the recruit. It's
it's tough. And a coach like that at Michigan could probably do a little bit better with the resources that are there.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't know that Fleck would move the needle for a lot of people. Which I don't know. Is that unfair that like he rubs people the wrong way just because he's energetic and he, the whole that would be the biggest problem. He'd try to put an "or" somehow on the Michigan helmet and it would become a big issue.
Yeah.
That ain't happening here, Fleck.
He's over the top a little bit, but I also just don't think that he's had that crowning achievement, right? Like that big moment. He's not competed for a Big Ten championship. He's not even played in the Big Ten championship. You know what I mean? Since being like he hasn't really, as you say, has he moved the needle at Minnesota?
I think as much as you can, as much
like
as
an 8-4 team every year, I don't know.
Which is, I think, is good if you're Minnesota. I think that's probably where you're going to max out in this conference. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and you lose the teams you're supposed to lose to. Aaron, I think it's Fongers from the Facebook page. He says, "Is there even a chance at getting DeBoer?" Yeah, I think there's always a chance. And I've said this a number of times, man. I do not rule anything out in today's era of college football, whether it be player-wise, roster-wise, coaching-wise, staff-wise. Like, I don't rule anything out. So is there a chance? Absolutely, there's a chance. And again, the Michigan head coaching vacancy, it is, even if all other jobs were open, you're talking about the University of Michigan is probably like top 3. There's not many jobs that can compete with what you have available to you at Michigan. And so is there a chance of getting him? Sure. The only question is, like, is he the guy? Is that the one you want to throw your weight around, throw the money at and ride with DeBoer for the next 3 years and see what happens?
Dude, his buyout is $3 million.
Well, that also helps.
If he leaves, yep. So if he voluntarily leaves, they owe him $3 million, which we would probably have to pay.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
those big buyouts, what people are seeing is when they fire him or whatever.
That's
kind of buyouts. But for him to leave, it's only $3 million. I think Saban's was crazy to leave. Like his was high on both, right? They didn't care. So that tells you a little bit about how Alabama thinks about DeBoer. Anyways, the way they structured his contract. Like if you decide it's too hot in the kitchen and you want to bounce, $3 million. That's all we're giving you. You know what I mean? They knew it was going to be hot.
Here's a comment from Nasser from the Facebook page. I hope I said that right. He says, couldn't be a better time for a coaching search. December is a good time for the university, or for a university like Michigan. I think many options in the NFL and many current coaches who would leave their jobs for this one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It couldn't be a better time. I'm not sure about that, but I think the overall point is true that, yeah, man, there's a lot of coaches out there, a lot of guys who are on NFL staffs who have been head coaches at the collegiate level. Like, there are going to be options for the University of Michigan to get this right with a guy with a proven track record. It's just a matter of which direction do they go. And then the other question is, how quickly do you got to make it happen? And I think if you want to keep this recruiting class together, if you want to keep your top players on your roster, Jared, I think it's got to happen relatively quickly. The wheels got to be moving. And I would assume that just because we heard about it today doesn't mean Michigan hasn't known where this thing is trending and conversations and phone calls haven't been made. So, the idea that this could come together pretty quickly in the matter of a week or so, I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
What about Cliff Kingsbury? I know we're getting close to an hour here.
Yeah, I would be
coordinator for the Washington Redskins, right? He's led some big teams, won some big games.
Maybe it's just because.
Problem is, I think he'd want to go back to the NFL at some point. You know what I mean? I think
there's
bump into that, but he's young.
But honestly, like, I think Michigan is one of those jobs where, when you get there, if you do things the right way, like it's a job that you could turn into a long-term career. Like, you're going to get paid a lot of money. Like, you're going to have the top recruits that want to come for you. You're going to have an opportunity to compete for championships. You're going to have an opportunity to become a legend. That's the other part about this is, like, with the way it's set up right now, whoever steps into that seat, whoever takes that job, it is set up for you to become a legend. If you want to stay there and make a name for yourself, you have everything you need, every tool at your disposal to become a coaching legend at the collegiate level. And I think there's a lot of guys that would appeal to. Sure, there's some guys that want to be in the NFL, and, obviously that's coaching at the highest level, but there's something to be, look at the way people look at Nick Saban, right? Didn't do shit in the NFL, but he is a head coaching legend because of what he did at Alabama. Yep. And I truly think that the same opportunity is there for whoever comes to the University of Michigan. I truly believe that.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think Cliff would be good one. I like him, though. Good offense, good offensive mind. You know what I mean? That's what we need.
Yeah.
You already got your Wink Martindale's there for the defense. That's continuity there. You keep him. You bring Kingsbury in. I mean, he's an offensive dude.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot. I mean, look, a lot of Joe Brady, a lot of Jesse Minter, a lot of the same names: Nick Saban, PJ
Well,
Fleck.
because like you said earlier, a lot of the coaches have been hired already. You know,
Yeah,
some major spots have already been filled, and big name coaches have already moved on. So
right, right.
I don't know what he was saying about December, but I wish we could have done this a couple weeks ago. There were some different options on the table, but
Dude, there are a lot of comments in here, man. I am like,
yeah, they're coming in fast.
I just now got caught up. Okay, we just hit the hour-long mark. Somebody saying that they would throw up. Somebody saying how about Chip Kelly? Yeah, look, here's what we're gonna do. So, I guess Mike Vrabel, is that what we're pushing for? I don't know. Here's where we'll end it. Jared, is there anything you want to say about this overall? I mean, obviously this news didn't quite come out of left field because we talked about it. You and I had exchanged messages about it. I thought, I think I even specifically remember saying something to you like, I get that there's rumors out there, but it just feels like some people are being oddly specific about things, and it just kind of felt like,
yeah.
If you're making it up, like you're going to great lengths to put in some key details there, and sure enough, it came to fruition. So, yeah. I guess where is as we're at an hour here, where is your head at on this whole thing?
Well, first I just saw a comment that we had 335 viewers, so I want to give a shout out to the fans for hopping on, in short notice. Like that's clutch. We appreciate it.
Let me just say this about that. I mean, I've been watching the numbers up in the corner. I can see the live numbers the whole time. We have steadily it's dropped down. We're about 415 right now, but we were steadily at about 600 live viewers the whole time here watching this show. So for an entire hour, for 600 people to be sitting in here watching a couple dinks talk about, try to dissect the Sherrone Moore thing, I think incredible community and grateful for the people who participated in it. But yeah, man, I'm wondering where your head is at with this thing.
Again, yeah, I think we should have paid more attention. Like you said, they were very oddly specific when they were talking about this. And if you're not sure about something, you stay vague when you release your hot intel so that you can back out of it, because you stayed vague. They were very specific down to the way that people looked and acted, and very, very specific. So it's a tragedy. I've been around Coach Moore. You've been around Coach Moore.
Yeah.
Seemed like a great dude. When I was in the military, I always did great things for us in the military, taking care of soldiers that were deploying, things like that. He was always supportive of that. But like you said, people make mistakes, man. And he made a big one, and I hope that doesn't affect his family life, or hopefully they can work through whatever there is there. But sad, like you said, he had the world in front of him, man. Like this was a job, and he was recruiting, and he was building, and he was doing so many of the right things, and just stepped on something, and here we are, so hopefully Biff Poggi can keep the team together. Hopefully Michigan takes this serious, makes a good hire that the kids want to work with, and we can keep this thing rolling.
Yeah. I mean, that's really where it's at. Unfortunately, there's no like big aha moment. There's no juicy details of anything of like exactly what happened. Like, it's an unfortunate situation. I think that my hope is that Sherrone Moore finds a way to like get back on his feet and somehow, some way get back into the coaching world. But it's unfortunate. It's going to take a minute, right? Anytime you go through something like this, it's going to take a minute, and it's going to suck. It's going to suck for him. It sucks for his family right now. I'm sure that tonight is not an easy night, and my hunch is that it hasn't been easy for like a minute, because I doubt that this was the first time that Sherrone Moore had an idea that something was coming. But yeah, Jared, we talked about it before, man. You had the world in your hands. You were the head coach at the University of Michigan. You had all the resources you could ever need. You were set up, like I said before, with whatever coach steps in, you were set up to become a coaching legend. You had everything at your disposal to be able to do that. And unfortunately, this is where we are. And so there's one side of me as a fan that feels one way. There's another side of me as somebody who covers a team that feels a different way. And where I'm at with this right now is I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that Michigan gets this right. I'm hopeful that they go out and whoever they hire, they hire the type of guy who this program deserves. Somebody with a proven track record of success, somebody who can come in and make the most of what they have here. And I think if the folks in Ann Arbor can get this thing right, I think when the 2026 season comes around, we could see this program really ascend, and that's what I want to see. So, Jared, I think that's where we're going to leave it. Obviously, there's a lot of comments in here, and we're grateful for all of the people that participated. I saw somebody ask if this means we're not going to do a Thursday show. Jared, you and I, we can talk about that offline a little bit. I think right now is just, wanted to hop on here and digest it live with all of you, because we're in the same boat. We're just, kind of blindsided by it because we thought something was coming. But, the reality when it actually hits, I think is, it's strange. It's a strange place to be. And this is certainly not how I saw Sherrone Moore's tenure coming to an end at the University of Michigan. So we appreciate everybody who participated in this show. Jared and I are going to hop off. We'll talk about whether or not we come back live on Thursday. And my guess is if we do a Thursday show, we're going to be having a lot of the same conversations we had tonight. So
maybe
we're going to have
more information. Who knows? It's 24 hours, right? It could
right. Yeah. We'll see if something else comes out. I mean, I'd like to push for a Thursday show, but we're going to play that one by ear. I will certainly announce it on the Facebook page if we decide to do that. But until then, hang on tight. This thing's going to get, it's going to get real interesting in the coming days and coming weeks. And we're going to try to figure out, if this program is going to be in a great place and can hang on to the players it has. There's a lot of stuff that's still to come about this situation. So hang on tight. Enjoy the ride. We might be back on Thursday to talk about it. Appreciate y'all out there.